Let's make sure we silence our phones too, please. The microphones are on. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board. It's 5:32 on December 18th, 2024. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Join us. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Randy, please.
Okay, Trustee Winslow,
Present.
Trustee Kidda,
Here.
Trustee Leighton,
Here.
Trustee Everson,
Here.
Treasurer Rickauer,
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Kangas and our Attorney Roger Zappa, our Fire Chief Dan Shanahan, our Finance Director Kim Clark is here, and on Zoom we have our Superintendent of Public Works Lenny Bodinas here. Committee members here, Rob Sved is here from the DDA.
Okay, thank you. Any emails?
Nope.
Public comment? Okay, anybody wish to address the board before we start? Okay, thank you. So tonight's consent agenda, we will need a roll call vote. There's a budget amendment in there, but it consists of regular meeting minutes of December 4th, 2024. We have bills payable in the amount of $194,097.58. We have the sheriff's activity report from November, very busy. We have Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority 2025 meeting schedule and their holiday schedule. And I was asked by QPAD to put in the free lead abatement training that they're offering, so that's for anybody that's interested in January. I did put a couple letters in too. I got a phone call from Andrea Ingman at the public library and one from Christopher Germain at the LSCP, the partnership, and they were both scheduled to speak or present to the committee in Lansing on dark store legislation. They were asked by Rep. Hill to do something. So I provided the spreadsheet that the county has for Marquette Township through 2023 and the losses we've incurred because of that. I gave them both the spreadsheet. Christopher sent a copy of the letter that he submitted, and I believe Andrea spoke. I haven't talked to her since to see how it went, but she spoke via Zoom. So I'll follow up with her and find out the results of that. And then we got a response from Rep. Hill on the letter we wrote about aggregate mining. And then we have financials from November 2024 and the budget amendment. I think you want to read those.
I'll just read I'll read the synopsis of that. But I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay. It's a roll call vote.
It is. Okay, so budget amendment, it's the last one of the year, 2024-05. And that's pretty good for only having 5 for the whole year. That's actually really good. So I commend Kim and our staff for that, make sure we don't have too many budget amendments, because that gets kind of messy when you have a lot, so. Anywho, the authorization is requested to increase expenditures in the general fund. Expenditure increases for the general fund are due to additional Township Board Education and Training, uncalculated salaries during the budget process, addition of a new full-time assistant treasurer, assistant clerk position, pension not originally budgeted, installation of solar panels, Township Master Plan, and increased purchase of supplies. Fire fund increases due to mid-year pay increases that were not in the calculated budget, and for the purchase of thermal imaging cameras. Wastewater fund and water fund administration increase is for under budgeted payroll expenditures. The water reservoirs for Cox and Chapel Ridge increase is due to unplanned tank inspections, and hydrants have been repaired, resulting in over expensed account. Also requested is an increase in the solid waste fund revenues for landfill due to higher revenue from customer use. The sanitary landfill is increased for unexpected use of the landfill and increased building supplies purchased.
One minor revision to that, the hydrants were repainted,
Okay.
so it was paint that increased the cost on that line.
Okay. And the budget amendment is always in the minutes with the explanation, so anyone looking at the minutes will see that. In roll call vote, is Clerk Rattari yes? Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Trustee Winslow?
Yes.
Trustee Kidda?
Yes.
Trustee Leighton?
Yes.
Treasurer Rickower?
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
That motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. And we just need approval of the remainder of the agenda unless.
I move to do that, to accept the remainder of the agenda.
No support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, let's start with our fire department report.
Good evening.
We had a quiet weekend, that's unusual.
Yes, it's actually a pretty uneventful month, which has been sort of nice. Our numbers are about the same as last year at this time, but uneventful, which is a good thing. We did run up to Powell and assist them on a structure fire. We had a small one here, a small chimney fire, nothing big, and Marquette City and Marquette Township assisted us with that. Like I said, the numbers are pretty close to last year. Our membership's pretty much staying the same. We did have one EMT interview this month. AFG has been submitted for the grant. Again, we're going to apply for a hose and tablets and some nozzles. I think you're aware, or some of you are aware, that we did put the fire truck, the 99 Pierce, up for auction, and that closed yesterday. We have not made a final decision yet on what we're going to do.
Did you get any offers, Dan?
We did.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know what, yeah, we did.
okay.
You know, if it was...
That's all I need to know.
Okay, that's good. I don't know what I can, we did.
Okay,
And the top one, and we've contacted.
good.
We did host the Girl Scouts. 15 Girl Scouts gave a tour of the fire station and smoke alarms. I think it was on the back of the water bill, smoke detectors. We only did a couple last month, but we've done already, which is a good time of year for us to do them. We've done quite a few already this month, which is a good thing. So, and that's really all I have. I know next year we do plan on, and we're going to start in January. We were there for a while, being real good about training with the mutual aid departments, and we're going to get back with that again this year, starting in January actually, for training, because we work together with so many things now. So.
I see that you did inspections or something with Goodwill and Bath and Body Works, was that anything?
No, nothing, and we're trying, and it's hard to, everything's hard to schedule, because our days get interrupted all the time. But you'll see next month there'll be quite a few on there. This because of, and I don't like saying, because the numbers are a little bit, it's been a little bit more uneventful, I guess is a better way of putting it,
Yeah.
this month. So this month, you'll see next month there'll be quite a few inspections that were completed.
Okay.
This
Not sure if
month.
they had projects going or?
No projects. Nope. Projects, actually, I don't believe we have seen any plans, and I don't think we've seen anything this month. But no. A few fire alarms, that type of thing. We always have those, though.
So how often do you do inspections on businesses?
It depends on their category, if they're high risk or not. We'd like to hit, the goal is to hit every business within 3 years. Some we would hit every year. And we have fallen, I will admit, and it's that, we've fallen behind a little bit. We're really trying to push it right now and bring in people to help cover, part-time, just for a couple hours here and there, so we can keep these scheduled appointments. But 3 years is our goal, and some every year. Very few in our township. And some are more than one a year. Yeah, I should say too, yeah. Sometimes you'll see them on the list
Often.
every couple months, yep.
Any questions,
Any
Dan?
questions for anything?
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
appreciate it. Public Works, Lenny.
Hello, everyone. We'll start with wastewater. As always, we've had routine grinder pump replacements, and we've been kind of talking about some of these older ones that are keep coming in. We've been doing it all along, but we're really starting to do it now. If these 210s come in, they're old, they're from the early 90s, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense to repair them. The replacement parts for them are starting to get kind of expensive. I think the company's actually doing that on purpose to make them not really affordable or worthwhile to replace them. So we are starting to hit that a little bit more, that if it's more than just a routine type of repair, we're putting a new extreme pump into the grinders, just kind of in a way we're updating all the pumps here, and hopefully those will last for a long time too. We also had a grinder tank lid repair. Somebody actually got it with their plow. So for people out there when they're plowing, please mark where your grinder tank lid is at. They're only fiberglass, and they don't hold up very well to a plow hitting them. And if they're easy to repair, if there's something not a big deal, we can repair them. Otherwise, it's kind of a costly and expensive repair, and we do charge the homeowner for those. So that's just kind of keep track of where everything's at in your yard, and mark it so the plow doesn't get it. We do have some ongoing sewer and lift station inspections. That's kind of a routine thing that we do as we get a little bit of downtime. We'll go through and look at all the manholes, and we'll go do some grease trap inspections around some of the local businesses. It's just a really good preventative maintenance type of item to do, and we've actually stopped some big problems before they happen just by doing this. So it's kind of the reason for doing it, and that's kind of an ongoing thing that we keep doing. We also had a lift station, a pump repair at the US 41 lift station. So we got there and we found out, again, the pump is clogged. So usually what's happening is people are flushing undergarments and socks and stuff down at some of these places, and they're getting into the lift station, and they're getting into the pump, and they're stopping up the pump. And it's kind of weird to think that an undergarment can stop up a pump, but these pumps start up so slow with VFD drives that they just don't have a lot of horsepower in the beginning, so something really simple can plug them up. So usually we're finding this out, the pump kind of stops and gives us an alarm. And unfortunately, when usually we find a sock in one, we expect the second sock to make it down within a week. So we kind of wait for that to happen, that the second sock's going to jam the pump up, and we'll have to clean that out too. But that doesn't happen too often, but it does happen probably once every few months. Our Center Street pumps have arrived, and actually we got one installed today. They got it wired up, and we plan on, we're kind of discussing what we're going to do with, there's a pump in there that's kind of like on its last legs. We're wondering, do we just run that second pump out until there's no more life left, and then we put the other new pump in, or are we just going to put both new pumps in? So, but regardless, we do have one brand new pump in there that should be up and working, so that's kind of a relief to us that we have new pumps and we're not relying on this thing that could go at any minute. For water, we just have the routine well house duties. So Rob's been taking samples where needed, as needed, and just doing the simple, the type of things that comes with running a well house. So that's keeping all our reports, doing all the sampling and all the inspections on that. We've been doing a few meter replacements. So this has been happening, and it's going to become more common as they get older. Our bigger meters have a 10-year lifespan, while the smaller ones have about a 20. And we're finding that the big meters, the lifespan is kind of the warranty on them. and we're finding that they fail at 10 years and 3 months or 10 years and 4 months. So that's going to be more of an ongoing thing as we go, more of a routine and preventative maintenance type of item that will be ongoing. We continue to work on SRF applications and investigate any other sources of funding for any of our upcoming water projects. So we have had some meetings with Eagle, and we're looking at some other options. One thing to keep note that there's probably will not be any kind of grant money available, and just any kind of SRF money is going to be tough to get. Our system is, we run our system well. We don't have a lot of problems, and we don't, we're not always having violations. So it's kind of a weird way to look at it. But if we ran our system poorly and we got a lot of violations, we would get more points and we might get some funding. But we would rather run our system good instead of running it poorly. For building and grounds, routine cleaning and maintenance is ongoing at the various township buildings and grounds. And the staff has been, when it did snow, it was really cold out last week, they had been busy scraping down and cleaning the sidewalks throughout the township. So that'll be, again, just a routine and ongoing thing that they'll be working on. And we've already been starting to get some phone calls on the ice rink. So we did kind of watch the weather. Andy did try to put down a little bit of water last week, and then of course we had this warm weather. We're watching the weather again, and if the weather does turn cold, where we look like we're going to have a really good stretch of cold weather, we're going to really try to put a lot of water down and try to get that built up fast so people can use it. But again, it's all weather related, and I mean, it looks like it's going to get cold here for the next couple of days, and it looks like it's going to get warming up here again. So we'll watch it, and if we can make ice, we will. But unfortunately, if the weather doesn't cooperate, it's just not going to happen. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Lenny? Okay, great. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, Jason went home sick, so he said maybe Linda that you could share some stuff. He printed the agenda.
Oh, I
I'm
have
guessing
it.
this is from, you got it?
I do.
Just to see what they worked on.
What the planning commission,
Mm-hmm.
what we worked on?
Yep.
Okay, yep. Mhm. So the planning commission met on Wednesday, December 11th. We do have a proposed sale, service, repair, parts, and supply land use that we'll have a public hearing on in January. Renovari Development submitted their final planned unit development, and that was approved. And so we're just then waiting for some things to happen. And it looked like, Lynn, that we're going to have a meeting with some people.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
talk about that.
You can talk about that.
Yep.
We did look at the draft for the Charter Township of Marquette's Blight and Policy Maintenance Ordinance. We had lots of discussion. We are sending that back to our attorney to get another draft. And so I expect over the winter, you will see the final draft here to approve and or make recommendations to. I know that was a big deal on our needs, I call it a needs assessment, but the survey, that was a big deal. People were concerned about blight. I do have with me, in case anyone would like to look at it, what Renovari is proposing, and I can pass that down. So you can look at what they're proposing. They did take our recommendations from the first time we met with them, and they incorporated them into the final PUD, and I think people were very satisfied with that. I will remind people that that nice little shortcut that gets them to Starbucks will be leaving. Okay, that will not be there in the future. So people should probably start getting used to finding a different way to Starbucks.
Who presently plows that?
Oh, probably us.
It's our property.
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop plowing it and get people more used to not using it.
Well, that's an idea. Good idea. Yeah.
Good thing, oh, Lenny is still on. I was gonna say, good thing Lenny hung up. That's where his
I
staff-
know you're
We-
feeling on it too, Ed.
We do plow it. We do plow it, but it's also pretty useful. We want to keep it open though, just for emergency use to fire trucks. It's a good way to get in and out of there too. So that's kind of why we do plow it as well.
So,
Yeah, a lot of the things that we've asked, or I asked, or, storage-wise, that they're gonna put some basements in some of these units and allow some shed,
Yep.
maybe right behind the driveway where the cars are, and so they've been very accommodating for some of the things that we were talking about, to make it easier for these people, small families or single people don't have a lot of stuff probably, especially if it's their first home. But if you're still looking for your first home and you've been, married a while or whatever.
For one, I'm single, and boy, I got a lot of stuff.
You've accumulated over the years.
well, Goodwill's happy to take all that stuff.
Sorry?
Goodwill's happy to take that
Yes,
stuff.
I'm gonna be reducing my.
Your stuff.
inventory soon.
So other than that, I don't know anything Jason would have to talk about that wasn't at the planning commission, so.
Yeah. There was something exciting he would have said.
Yeah, we'd like exciting things to happen,
Yeah.
right? So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then our attorney report.
Well, as is customary for the last month of the year, it was a pretty busy month, and we're only 2/3 through. I authorized issuance of a civil infraction for a property maintenance code violation on County Road 550. Ongoing activity in terms of the 760 Lake Enchantment Road issue. I know there was a question that Jason was trying to get some bids on that for cleanup, and I'm not sure on whether those came in from interested parties or not. I spent a lot of time going through the fire department manual. We met, and then more recently we met again, and I recommended some minor revisions to the language in the policy.
I have those to hand out, Roger.
And reviewed a couple of different contracts that came through. There was one for the, in conjunction with the West Michigan Health Pool. They had a business associate agreement and some other documents that I looked at last week. I drafted your resolution to disband the roads committee. I reviewed a fire cat agreement for testing fire department equipment. And we also had our oral arguments on the ZBA, on the appeal of the ZBA zoning decision to the circuit court yesterday afternoon. We did prevail on that. I'll probably be able to tell you a little bit more in the days to come. We do not have a written order from the judge yet. The judge will be issuing that order, so there are still a few unanswered questions surrounding that, but the judge did rule in our favor on that issue yesterday afternoon after a very lengthy oral argument. And I'm probably overlooking something, but those are the things that come to mind at least.
Any questions for Roger?
Roger, was both of the cases argued in circuit court or just the one?
No, just as, because they're assigned to different judges.
Oh, they are, okay.
So we had just the one on the appeal itself,
When is the other one coming?
February 5th.
Okay. That's all I had.
Good. Thank you, appreciate that. I've had a really busy 2 weeks. I've got lots to share with you, but I'm gonna go fast because we have a good size agenda. There is a bill to regulate police and fire staffing that the Senate has already passed, and it is in the House. And I believe I sent that to you. I'm hoping I could. And I'm wondering if maybe we need to send a letter opposing that too. I don't know where it stands in the House. It's just, I don't think it's gotten to committee. I did talk to Senator McBroom today about something else, and he said it's just a mess down there. I don't know what they're trying to get done. So, think about that. As I said, I talked to Senator this morning, the revenue sharing bill, so I sent you an email on that. John grabbed me first thing this morning with the text that said, says that she thinks that they probably will fail, but she, don't quote her really because anything can happen. Apparently, they have to have 5 days of majorities in the House and the Senate, and they're not gonna have them this week before the session ends, so that's why she's thinking a lot of these bills are not gonna fly. So I did call Pete back and tell him that he was preparing a presentation to the supervisors tomorrow. We have our quarterly supervisor road commission relations meeting. So he usually does a presentation for us on that. MDOT is looking for grant support for Teal Lake Roundabout. So they're not asking us right now, but the road commission did say that they would provide a letter of support. It's down the road, literally a few years out. It's just beginning stages, but I thought you'd want to know that they're trying to get a roundabout at the Teal Lake intersection. Highline is a fiber optic cable company that's going to be working in the UP next year. That they've done some work already. They got a federal grant to lay cable, and they'd like to try to set up a meetings. I got an email this morning, so I contacted Jim Nankervis, who's the chair, and the Ishpeming Township supervisor, to see if he wanted to try to set that up, or if he wanted to do it as part of their county township meeting, or bring them to the community room, or whatever. So we may have some information on that. They want to try to make sure their goal is to have everybody in the UP have cable, internet cable. So I don't know what that's going to cost, but they do have a grant for laying in. Solid waste. We just had the authorities meeting just right before this one, which is kind of what I was trying to finish up before I came in. The director got a 4.75 out of 6 on his review, which entitled him to a $2,000 bonus. And the authority got a call from the Board of Light and Power asking if they would consider taking 80,000 tons of fly ash. So the authority board said that they could use it as cover, and they have to do a test for chloride. And I believe if the test is low, the BLP will pay the authority $1.7 million, one-time shot, and they'll deliver it. I can just see them wanting to spend it already. They are also making quite a few adjustments to their accounting. You might remember that they had some red flags on their audit review, and they are already making adjustments for that, so that was good news. Tipping fees right now are running about $68 a ton. This past August, they thought that next year they would raise it to 71. Well, in the meantime, this waste management project came through, and they were kind of waiting to see what the impact was going to be from the debt perspective, what it was going to cost to keep it up. So unfortunately, this July coming up, it'll go up to $87 to help offset that debt. And then last night at the county commission, the county board of commissioners, I did report back on that we did not have a meeting on the 6-county consortium waste management. You might remember that the county asked me to be on that board, and their meeting was lengthy too. They had probably every AFSCME union member in the county in the county chambers. It was just packed. They were out in the hall and everything. They made some statements, thanked the commission for their work on some of the pay issues and the benefit issues, and asked for a few other things. So that was kind of interesting. Quite a few people spoke. But the sheriff did come in and recognized probably maybe 8 of his members in 131 Rescue for 2 especially events that happened. The 3-month deputy, I believe he's only been with them 3 months, was off duty and actually saved someone who'd gone off the road, had a heart attack, and brought him back to life. So he received an award. And I'm sorry, didn't write their names down. And the rest of the group, a dog fell in Nishigami River. The owner went in to try to save him, and they couldn't get him. He couldn't get the dog out. Then they finally got the dog out. Couldn't get the man out. So I mean, our guys are probably aware of some of that with rescue, but they were able to get the gentleman out. It was windy and cold, and everybody was frozen. And so they all got aboard. So I wanted to mention that because otherwise you might not hear that, unless it's in the paper maybe or in the news. And then the last thing is that the Airport Advisory Board was dissolved at the County Commission meeting also. They are going to work with Invest UP instead and try to restructure how the airport is run and structured. Well, that's a lot. I've had a lot of meetings lately. And housing is next week, so you'll hear that next month. So are you hearing anything? Anybody calling you or phone calls, emails from the public?
Wow, Blake.
Yeah, that's what you're getting?
Yeah,
Did you tell them we're working on?
I did.
Good. Good. Stay tuned, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Okay, let's talk about the fire department manual briefly. I know the chief stayed. If you remember, we put this manual together. It's a good sized one, and spent a lot of time updating it. The only few things that were left were some wording issues. I'm going to pass this out. I just got this afternoon, otherwise I would have given it to you sooner. You can read it. My question is then, we can actually go through, if you don't mind, Roger. There's only 2 or 3 recommendations in there. Explain it to the board, and if they want to put this off and have time to read it, if you'd like me to print those pages in the manual and provide it for you at the next meeting, I can do that. But they're just, you can see on the first page, it says, it refers to the policy and the section, and it says, the member is terminated by notice stating the effective date. The township manager makes the discharge decision concerning all members except the fire chief. And then the next one is also another policy, 812, referring to the fire chief. It says the fire chief shall be appointed by the township supervisor with the township board concurrence pursuant to section 13 of the Charter Township Act, MCL 4213. And then the term of office was, the language was kind of cryptic, so the change would be, the term of office for the fire chief position shall continue until superseded by a new appointment to that office. The fire chief may be discharged from the fire department upon the recommendation of the supervisor, subject to approval of the township board. And that was clarified because the fire chief is a position as well as a person, so that doesn't necessarily mean the person would be let go or suspended or anything like that. It just refers to the position of the fire chief. And the last one, I think, is in the absence of the fire chief, the assistant fire chief shall have the same duties. If the Marquette Township Board must suspend or discharge the fire chief for any reason, the assistant fire chief will assume command on a temporary basis until appointment of a new fire chief is recommended by the supervisor and approved by the township board. And then a couple words just need to be replaced.
That last one is how it's already happening, it just clarifies it
Yeah,
in writing.
that's what we were doing, was fixing the language. Any comments, Roger?
Not really, unless you have specific questions. There was some inconsistency in the wording, and this tightens that up. Again, that was more or less a clarification to follow what the actual practice has been, and to avoid potential issues that occurred about 10 years ago plus. So unless there are any specific questions, I have nothing to add to that.
Anything for Roger? So we,
Oh, I guess I do have
Sure.
one minor thing on that topic. We had also these were only the most recent changes we discussed. There were a number of ones that were discussed and made, recommended during the past months. And one of those was the firearms policy on fire department property and apparatus. And just a reminder that there needs to be a minor revision to the township personnel policy regarding firearm carrying in that policy as well. And the language has been drafted. I sent that a couple months ago, but just a reminder not to overlook making that revision.
Yep, I will add that with our, maybe in January 2nd's meeting, which is our next meeting, we can schedule a work session to look at all the policies. I'll pull them together and then we'll add that at the same time. And it doesn't have to be right away, but Roger thought since we're making this change that it might be good to do them relatively soon. So I put a January 1st of 25 effective date on this document, if that's okay. Like I say, it's up to you. What's your pleasure?
I'll move to update the Fire and Rescue Department Operations Manual effective 1/1/25.
I'll support that.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Well, my only comment is it's been 10 years, or it's been a long time since we've looked at that. And finally, it's now up to the current standards, which protects us and protects them, so.
Exactly. Any comments, Chief?
No, thank you.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Supervisor Durant, thank you.
Okay.
That is a lot of work. I'm glad it's done.
Yeah, me too. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'll make sure that we get those changes done and we'll finish it with page numbers so that'll be easier to find too. All right. And B is to consider final obligation of ARPA funds. Falls to Manager Kane.
ARPA or SLFRF. It's SLFRF funds under the ARPA Act, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. Goes all the way back to COVID. And we received $409,425.64, of which we had pretty much already committed a majority of those funds. First to the hydro excavator back in February of 2022, and then second for an ambulance in February of 2023. But that left about $15,000 and some change. That still needs to be obligated. In the meantime, Dan realized they should have power assist on their stretcher they're getting, and he also needs to put a radio in this new ambulance. So the recommendation is to use that remaining $15,173.65 to complete this ambulance with a little bit of assistance from their operating fund, because we'll be about $4,000 shy. Actually almost 5,000 shy, $4,811.87. So the recommendation is for you, the township board, to make this final obligation of all those funds and do it all in one motion. Obligate the first $96,621 to that original action for the hydro excavator, which we purchased to complete our lead service line verification project for Eagle. Second, the ambulance, which is a custom stock. Kind of interesting that those two words are together, because if it's stock, it's not necessarily custom, but it's custom stock through Red Power Diesel ambulance, $310,866.99, and a Motorola radio from Melcom Systems for $6,749.52. So to close the gap, then the fire department operating funds would have to contribute $4,811.87. And then, if you obligate in that fashion, we shouldn't have to send any money back to the U.S. Department of Treasury. That's our goal. This has to be done by December 31, 20. The obligation has to be done by December 31st of this year. And then we have until 2026 to finish spending the money, but it should be done hopefully in February, or maybe a little bit later, depending on how long it takes to get the radio installed, once we get the ambulance here.
So we'll support.
Okay.
So what is the expected date of arrival of this ambulance, and what's the life expectancy of this ambulance?
We hope to get it in February, is the goal, is what we've been told. And the life expectancy for our department, if you look at the average, you can't, for us, we're expecting 20, 25 years. And our current ambulances are 25, 27 years old now, so we expect that it'll last that long. Well, we hope this should.
None of us should be here to see that retire.
Well, just so we plan for that in the future, do you know that we start putting money aside, because it's gonna cost a lot more? And I really am a big believer in budgeting money ahead so we don't have to scramble to buy things.
I don't disagree. The problem is we're
scramble.
already behind the 8 ball on this ladder truck, so
Well, we
we'll have
need to
figure
get
out how to-
going.
that may require the township board take action to increase revenues, just so we understand that.
Yeah, well, I think this board has talked about getting ahead of the game instead of always being behind.
I don't disagree with that argument. It makes perfect sense to do that.
Okay.
But you may have to make a painful decision on how you generate that extra revenue to start saving.
So, yeah,
Well, that's why we have the equipment millage too. That helps.
it's not
But
gonna be enough.
that goes back to my original point. We're already behind the 8 ball with the equipment millage. I mean, we've got a fire truck that's gonna take 4 years to build that we should have ordered
4
last
years
year.
ago.
So it's all part of the struggles with limited resources. I'd love to do that perfectly on every single expense we have, but
We can thank the dark stores for that.
They definitely didn't contribute.
we don't have enough time tonight. Sorry.
Probably when we look at our goals, which I can't really read from here, that will probably be on there, and we will start a plan.
Start those next year.
Yeah, this year sometime, right? To review those?
Next year, yeah.
And for the
Oh, yeah,
record,
this next year.
we are already doing that with a lot of our equipment. Public Works does it. We are doing it for our sheriff vehicle purchase every 3 years. We're setting money aside every year towards that 3-year purchase. We are actually depreciating the loader in the Metro Act fund, where basically any revenue coming in is being put aside towards the future replacement of that, which again is probably a 20-plus year vehicle. So hopefully 20 years from now, we will have the money sitting in the bank for it. I would say the biggest issue is the equipment millage doesn't generate enough revenue for the expense of the fleet that we own.
Because it's so expensive.
Correct. Yep. They'll be in really good shape if we get this new ladder truck in for a little while, but by the time we get that paid off, the next one's gonna be sitting there waiting, and will we have the money in savings? I doubt it, because all of the revenue we have coming in will be paying the debt on this ladder truck. So,
Okay, questions?
that's all hypothetical. We don't have the exact numbers yet, but we will in the next few months, hopefully.
Just looking at the other side of the coin, was there anything besides fire department stuff that we could have used for this?
Well, we certainly could have, but as you can see, for them to finish this ambulance, it's already going to take a supplement from their operating fund. If we take 15,000 out of their operating fund, are we going to have to supplement their wages? And we already spent the first almost 100,000 on the hydro excavator that our water and sewer department will own now for as long as it lasts, that they can use for any excavation that has to happen in tight quarters. So Are there things that we could have done with 15,000? Absolutely, we could come up with a list a mile long. It's probably a little late in the game for that.
Well, then I just wonder, because somebody's liable to ask.
Yep. We already ordered and committed to this ambulance. Let's finish it so it's usable as soon as the radio is installed, and we don't have to say, I wish we would have.
Well, and their stuff is more timely too. I mean, if we have a wish list, it's a wish list, it's sitting there.
And we pick away at it
Pick
every
away at
year.
it, yeah.
Yep.
But if theirs is to try to help the public today and have the ambulance workable, it makes sense to do it now.
And, you know, the addition of some of the safety equipment, the lift assist on the stretcher, one back injury is all it takes, and that would have paid for itself. So,
Huge, huge.
Yeah. Okay, I want to make sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, Ontario Water Main relocation.
thanks for sticking around,
So-
Lenny.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Dan.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
See you, Dan.
Yeah, not a problem. So this is from the Ontario County Ontario Road project from the summer and early fall. In order for them to do some of the stormwater work that they were planning on doing, that it took replacing parts of our water main. I think we had talked about this a little bit earlier in the year, but when that happens, we really don't have a choice in the matter. We have to do it because it's basically their right of way. So the original estimate came in at about $69,369. We were able to work with them on some different ways of doing, some of the relocation and the things that they had to do there. And we were able to get that down to $39,445.91. So again, this was something that we really didn't have a choice, and we have to do it. So this is from that project.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions for Lenny?
Good job getting the cost down, Lenny.
Well, I'll have to thank my team. They were out there. They were able to. I had a couple of my guys were out there. They were able to kind of think while they're on site there, and they were able to see some things and make some suggestions, and it worked out.
And I've heard some great comments too about people that live down there or use that road a lot. They're so happy that the road's done.
Yep.
They miss the sidewalk strip safety thing or whatever you want to call it. It's got many names, but good job. Okay. Did we have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Lenny. Merry Christmas. Okay, consider fiscal year 2025 Township Board and Committee meeting dates.
Actually, it's kind of backwards in the packet, but, because I wanted that actually after the disbanding of the road committee, but that's okay, because I think it's kind of the cart before the horse, but anyways, before you tonight is the Charter Township of Marquette 2025 meeting dates minus the road committee, if it so is disbanded. If it is not disbanded, we'll put those back in there. But the only change for us will be the township board will be Wednesdays, except for January 2nd. It's going to be a Thursday at 5:30 because the 1st is on a Wednesday, and I don't think we want to meet on the 1st, so. And the rest of the schedule is fine. There's no elections scheduled in Marquette Township next year, so that won't affect that. And I think planning is just a normal schedule with one meeting in November and one meeting in December. The DDA meetings were provided to me from the manager, and the Recreation Committee is monthly meetings once per month. So I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 meeting date schedule for the Charter Township of Marquette, for the Township Board, Planning Commission, Recreation Committee, and the DDA.
Support.
Okay, any questions for Randy? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we can do the resolution.
Okay, so the background in this agenda item is we chatted last meeting about the needs of the road committee, and by kind of consensus and board motion, we've decided to go another direction on the road committee and basically convert it into an ad hoc committee if needed, because they were meeting and a lot of times they didn't even have a quorum, so it was kind of a wasteful committee in its current state. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to disband the Township Road Committee.
Support.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
And the resolution will be in the minutes also.
And I think there was discussion that our staff would be able to pick up the duties that were going to still be needed.
Yep.
Yeah, between staff and the road commission, who actually owns the road network, I truly believe they're already doing PACER ratings. They can actually probably make better recommendations to us than we were making ourselves. It's their network. Eric and I have already talked about it some, because we have to be prepared to take this on ourselves, and I think we were already ready to do so. So I don't see there being significant change other than the people steering the discussion and making the recommendations to you ultimately.
Anything else? Okay, roll call.
It's a resolution, so it will be a roll call vote. Clerk Rattari, yes. Trustee Winslow.
Yes.
Trustee Everson.
Yes.
Trustee Kidda.
Yes.
Trustee Leighton.
Yes.
Treasurer Rickauer.
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. So the meeting dates will stand as presented with no road committee.
Okay. Then consider my committee recommendations. I did email you and let you know that I didn't have the list in the packet, partly because I wanted to wait as long as I could for a couple of people who were supposed to get back to me. One of them did, and he is not interested in continuing his term. So another open seat will be the Downtown Development Authority, a 4-year term ending December 31st of 28. So you can see I've asked to reappoint Michelle LaJoy to the DDA for a 4-year term ending in 28. Mickey Truscott to the Board of Review for a 2-year term ending in 26. Kelly Hillier-Genshaw to the Board of Review for a 2-year term ending in 26. And a new appointment of Ernie Johnson to the Board of Review for a 2-year term ending in 26. All 3 of those Board of Review folks will have to do training. They're scheduled for February, and they'll be legal. And I have open seats on the Planning Commission, an alternate for the Board of Review. So I have 3 for the Downtown Development Authority, one of which, or actually 2 of which, don't even have to be in the DDA, so that's convenient for someone who might live outside of that area or have a business outside. The Zoning Board of Appeals has a position open, Iron Ore Heritage Recreation Authority alternate to complete a term, and then the Peter White Public Library liaison. And I'm not sure if that second person is interested. I haven't heard back from him yet. So the recommendation is just for those 4 positions right now. So that's my motion, to recommend those 4.
No support.
Questions?
The next meeting, we should do the first meeting in January, we should do the board committees, because I'm going to need 2 trustees for the election commission, even though we don't have nothing scheduled. I should have those appointments made by in January.
You still have to meet, don't you? At least once
We
a year?
don't, no.
No, not even?
Only for election, well, if we had an election matter,
Right.
we would, but with no election scheduled, or I'm not redoing precincts, we probably won't have anything. Then I think you have a planning commission member you have to appoint from the board. And is that it?
We've
Rec-
got a completely vacant personnel committee.
Okay, and the Personnel Committee needs to be appointed, and you need a board liaison to the Recreation Committee. So there's a few. So think about what you would like to serve on, and we'll deal with that in January then.
Do you want that on the next agenda?
Yes.
That's where I had it, good. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, I will notify those candidates. We have another resolution to consider, local control and claim of appeal against the Michigan Public Service Commission. You might remember that I mentioned this a couple meetings ago at least, that I'd been contacted by Foster Swift attorneys downstate. I'm sure they were contacting all the townships, not just me. That they are kind of fighting with the Public Service Commission as far as the, what is it, Public Act 233, 133? That's probably in here, 233. And they're just asking for letters of support. They have 79 members who have financially contributed to the case, and now they're looking for a little support. So this is the document that the attorney's office provided, and I put our stuff in here, so if you're willing.
So I'll make a motion to support the resolution number, which will be 12-18-24-1. That's how we do our resolutions. And to endorse the 79 other municipal appellants' interpretation of the order in support of ongoing appeal process against the Michigan Public Service Commission regarding Public Act 233 of 2023, and forward it to the offices of Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith PCs.
Support.
Okay, questions? Comments? Okay, if you do a roll call, please.
Clerk Retirees, yes. Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Trustee Winslow?
Yes.
Trustee Kidda?
Yes.
Trustee Leighton?
Yes.
Treasurer Rickauer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. I'll get that done shortly.
Okay, last but not least, the QPAD membership renewal. $337 for the year 2025. They have assisted us with planning, zoning grants, and a lot of other items over the many years. And we are currently functioning as a conduit facilitator for many of the housing and waste management committees that the county is undertaking, of which Marquette Township is a part. So while we don't deal with them as a planning specifically, since we have a planning department, we still use their expertise.
I'll move to approve the membership renewal of QPAD for January 1 to December 31 of 2025 at a cost of $837.
Support.
Questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Committee updates. Well, we did planning
There was
Recreation
no
canceled.
recreation this month.
yesterday. Business Association, Andrew, have you had a chance to get to those lunches? I mean, we just met with them, but I just.
Yeah, just their membership drive. They just had a quick report out. The Christmas tree lighting went well attended. They finished their fundraising raffle, and
Yeah, I guess I didn't win.
that goes to,
I guess I didn't win.
no,
What
they did
did I
not.
call?
That was down from previous years. But it's just, they're just trying to get new members and members to renew. So, get more engagement.
Okay. Any public comment? Anybody want to share anything? Good. Announcements?
I got a few, Lynn.
Okay.
So, we got reimbursed from the county for August early voting, so that check came in, I think, was it last couple of weeks ago, Lynn, or Kim? Or August early voting, so we were reimbursed for February, we're reimbursed for August. We will be getting reimbursed for November, probably early next year, it's going through the county. So early voting did not cost us anything, which is good, so we only ended up with our election cost although I had the budget for early voting, so that money is actually back in the kitty, which is good, so.
It did cost us the mental stability of our clerk.
Yeah, a little bit, but it got much better when I had help, so. The grant, we got the money for the $5,000 grant that I applied for, and I've spent some of it on a new filing cabinet for the assistant clerk. We paid for additional cameras in the office area with that. I told John for security for our area. I told him he could use some of that money for that. And I just purchased today voter ID cards, MasterCards, and 2,500 ballots, the outer and inner envelopes. So at least we're covered for 2 additional elections, because the paper and the ballots the envelopes don't go bad, so. And so I have about $1,000 or less left to spend, so we'll look for some other needs to spend that on in the clerk's department before that's over. And that's about it.
Did we get any kind of reimbursement from Powell Township, or is that all part of the state reimbursement?
With Powell Township, Dan, the agreement we have with them is we cover a percentage of the shifts, and they cover a percentage of the shifts. And they pay their own people, and we don't deal with any other stuff. They just show up and work. And Powell Township gets reimbursed from the county for that. So they just basically man some stations for a few days, and then
Reduces our cost.
which we don't have to have our workers there, yeah. So they share in the cost, which is good. And it works out good, because then I get to talk to those folks and see what's going on in Powell Township. Which I hear they don't have a clerk and a treasurer right now, so we'll see where that goes.
Okay, let me ask you once more if you think that you'd like to, if you got a chance to think about it, write a letter to Rep Hill about the police and fire staff fee. Are you aware of that legislation that they want to try to impose?
That's trying to put all the eggs in the same basket that are the same size. It doesn't work that way, for rural areas, volunteer departments, and paid people.
It makes sense that the municipality itself knows what their staffing needs are. A lot of that's based on the funding anyway. So to have somebody else come in and say, you need to have 6 full-timers, doesn't make sense.
Unless they're gonna come up with a bunch of money to pay for it, which I don't think they are.
So my question, Lynn, is this in the lame duck session, or is this, so will this even get done?
Yeah, MTA's not sure, so that's why.
Because time is really running out for those folks to do anything, I think. Yeah.
If you want to wait and see what happens for next year.
Or if you want to send it to Jen Hill and a copy to our new representative, so he's aware of how we feel about that. I don't know, yeah, yeah, it seems like they're in disarray in Lansing. Our elected people can't seem to compromise.
And we can't seem to get a majority on either side either.
Yeah, it's interesting to
Walking out.
read some of the comments.
So, the preference on the letter, yes, no?
Hard to send it, right?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with you
That's what our
sending it.
feelings are, so
Yeah.
why not?
Okay.
So by consensus, you'll send one.
Yeah.
My opinion on this, if this passes, it basically takes away local control again
There you go.
and puts it into hands that don't currently have it. To be fair, collective bargaining has always been supported here, but we haven't gotten into discussions at the collective bargaining table regarding the number of staff required, because everyone understands we only staff to the level that we can afford. And as soon as you start collective bargaining that, you're probably not going to be able to afford what ideally you should have. So it's a challenge. I think we all know that there's discussions coming down the road soon with Jacob Eddy coming to town, the veterans home. There's probably potential needs there. How do you cover the extra shifts if you're going to? Do you just let all the calls go to the hospital? There's going to be a delicate balancing act without even worrying about this new legislation. So I don't think we want to encourage them to create more headaches than we already have on our own. My opinion.
And that's just it, because if something new is coming to our community, we have to deal with it. We have to figure out how our people pay for it. And do we even have people that we can hire, even if we wanted to? So it should be up to us. I did pose to Judy Allen today when I talked to her that maybe the word or the term local control is what's turning people off in Lansing. Because I think that they think that means the municipality. What we're trying to impress is that it's the people that need to decide. Yes, this board decides a lot of these issues, makes up the laws, but we're doing it for the people because we know our community, or we get the phone calls, or we have them in the audience. Lansing doesn't know what we're dealing with, so maybe local control is a misnomer. She thanked me, she said maybe that you need to consider that it's the people's control, or the public's or the constituents' control. It's not the municipality's control.
But even then, what's wrong with local control if it means the municipality? We know our community better than, and I say we loosely, I'm just here helping you, right? Better than anyone in Lansing will. I mean, we all see what happened this past year with our local representative not representing us.
And the people spoke.
Maybe I've said too much.
That's okay. All right, so we'll do a letter for that. Let's talk about the work session briefly. The Brownfield Authority Chair asked if we would be willing to have a work session with her that she can explain all the details of the Renovari project, what that's going to mean in relation to the PUD rules and laws and what happens with the tax money, how long it lasts, how much we get. And I said, absolutely, I would think the board would be into that. 2 or 3 of us have seen her presentation a few years ago, but because of this project specifically, she wants to make sure we're aware. Because eventually this decision on the PUD will come back to us.
You said PUD laws, did you not mean brownfield laws?
Well, the way the PUD is structured is what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but brownfield laws too, right? She wants to explain tips and everything, because they're gonna be using the tip. So, it looks like, when we had that discussion, Jill from Renovari was also on the line, and she said that she would like to come. And I asked Roger if he was available to come, because the director thought that it would be a good idea to have him there. So, if we can coordinate schedules, they're looking at the week of the 6th.
The 6th.
Yes, and they're thinking maybe 90 minutes, roughly.
Well, the 7th, 3 of us are at Escanaba a Tuesday. So the 6th is a Monday.
Yep. To put this many people's schedules together.
Well, we can get as many as we can and then have it videoed so people can watch it later.
Roger, what are you thinking? Are you able to come that week?
Are we talking middle of the day or evening?
Whatever.
There are times I can come. I'm not booked full by any means.
Randy, what's your work schedule? Start with you.
I'll have to look.
How's your schedule?
Well, I know Tuesday and Wednesday of that week I'm off, so, but I'll be in Escanaba Tuesday, so probably Wednesday would be better.
Okay.
I have just a 9 o'clock, that'll last about an hour on the 8th, and I have a 10:15, that'll last about a half an hour on
Monday and Tuesday would be the best. Some big things on that week.
Monday'd be okay if it was after 3.
Does that work for you guys? I said like Monday at 3 o'clock.
Or 3:30 or 3:15.
It's okay for me.
John, how's that with you?
Anytime,
After 3 Monday?
You gotta get a wife.
I'm in.
Monday, that's okay.
The 8th is a planning commission meeting, so as long as it would be during the day if you chose Wednesday, but Monday, is okay.
So
You're looking at-
3:30 would be better. I can get a chance to get here and get everything lined up. Well, 5 would, well, I could do 5.
Does that work for you guys? 5 o'clock? Roger?
Should be okay.
6, John?
Yep.
That sound all right? January 6th, 5 o'clock, or 5:30?
Doesn't matter. 5's fine.
I'm thinking she's probably going to bring Antonio too. He's just appointed director of the Brownfield Authority.
So I'll make a motion to schedule a work session with the purpose of a brownfield development information on January 6th, Monday at 5 o'clock PM.
At 5.
At 5.
Here.
Here, yeah, in the boardroom.
Depending on how many people she brings, yeah. This is a big crowd, I can feel
We got enough room in here.
that. Do you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Right away. Thank you for that. I've also had a question whether or not the upset annual report could be on the website. And since that's not something we do, I need to know what your thoughts. John, do you think that's an issue?
I think the first thing we should do is ask Tim if that's okay.
He said we can do what we want with it.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. If it wants to be there, we'll find a place for it. Do you have it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, just check with Tim again. I don't want to make sure we put something out there that has any sensitive information out there, especially with upset stuff.
We don't want to upset, right?
Well, we don't want to give tips to anyone, I should say.
Yeah, I suppose so. And I did ask Matt Johnson, he wanted to come, but we got him aboard. So I thought maybe John could see this.
You got a grant, actually, right?
Yeah.
A grant.
I ran into Matt Johnson from Lundin Mining, Eagle Mine, and we were talking about the pavilion project and what NTN is working on and how we contributed. And he said, well, I have some funds available, let me see what I can get for you. So we have $5,000, we got our check. So we can, John can figure out what we can pay with it.
The driveway or
I
the
think
parking.
the biggest question before we rush to spend it is whether or not NTN's request for funding for that project, to the same source,
Oh,
is funded.
okay.
Because if it's not, then I think there's a lot more opportunity how we use that money. Do we use it to replenish some of the funds that we went over budget on, or do we use it to assist with completing the current project or future phases of the project? I'm pretty comfortable saying we did a pretty good job of covering this year's phase of our responsibility on the project. It's more a matter of what still needs to be done. But we can spend some more time thinking about it and making sure that that funding is used in the best way possible. Getting some vault toilets out there seemed like it makes a lot of sense at some point. But we still have to have a parking lot for the trailhead first. So my recommendation would be to stay on schedule here since the pavilion got ahead of schedule.
And then make sure they got credit for that. What else? Any other announcements? Linda?
So the Christmas display on, in Marquette Township is up and being visited quite regularly. So be careful if you travel on Vandenboom. I would like to encourage people, although I'm not sure how many people listen, but please park on one side of the street, not on both sides. It's hard to get through when cars are parked on both sides, so it's beautiful. We're lucky to have people do that in our township.
How about manager's report then?
I'm not sure what else I have to add beyond what we've already discussed tonight, other than we're just closing out the 2024 calendar year. Kim and Michelle have really done a bang-up job of strengthening up our internal controls this year. A lot of specifics, by the way, Randy, if you still have money to spend, we have 2 more security cameras we intend to install this year, but we have to upgrade our NVR first because it's currently maxed out. We also have a phone server that is hopefully going to be replaced sometime later this week that might resolve some of the phone issues we've been having. So that's about all I have.
I got about $1,000 left, I believe, after
Well, that
spending.
would cover about half of that camera project.
There we go. Internal security for the election stuff.
Any questions for John?
The only other comment I had that I should have added in announcements is I have our attorney looking at election law because there was a question of whether our current drop box meets the standards with the mix of utility bills and ballots, whether they need to be separated or not. I looked at the law, it didn't look like it, but I'm having our attorney look at it just to make sure we're compliant, or otherwise I have to spend some more money on a new drop box out there, so we'll see.
You better save your ballot.
We'll see where it goes, because actually the drop boxes can be still funded from the state from another grant that we never took. We didn't need one, so I didn't, but, you know, we're looking at it and seeing, making sure we're compliant, that's all.
Okay. We'll review our motions then.
Yeah, another busy meeting, but quick, actually, before 7 o'clock, which is pretty good. So the first motion was to approve the consent agenda as presented, and that was with the budget amendment. Roll call vote passed. The second motion was to approve the approval of the agenda as presented, and that was approved. Third motion was to approve the Fire and Rescue Department Operations Manual effective 1/1/25. That was approved. The fourth motion was to obligate the rest of the ARPA funds. That was approved. The fifth motion was to approve the Ontario water main relocation, and that was approved. The sixth motion was to approve the township board and committee meeting dates. That was approved. Seventh motion was to approve the resolution to disband the township road committee. That was approved. The eighth motion was to approve the four recommendations, I believe, to the committees from the township supervisor. That was approved. The ninth motion was to approve the resolution to support the local control and claim of appeal against the Michigan Public Service Commission. That was approved. 10th motion was to approve the renewal of the Central Upper Peninsula Planning and Development membership dues for 2025. That was approved. And the 11th motion was to schedule a work session for brownfield information on Monday, the 6th of January at 5 p.m. And that was approved.
So we'll talk about the board committees at the January, excuse me, second meeting. And I'm sure we'll find other things for the agenda. Anything else anybody wants to add? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We won't be back until 2025. Okay, just need
With that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Or
all in favor?